Okay, here we go. Welcome to the live stream. This is the first live stream that I've actually got a topic for that isn't just a trial run. So fingers crossed. I haven't rehearsed anything. I'm just going to take a look at the astrology chart for the radio show that I've just done, which I didn't check before I did the show because it's not something I'm in the habit of doing necessarily. But I am starting to get back into the habit of astrology again. So it might be fun just to have a look at it and see what's going on. So to do that, I need to use Astrolog version 7.0 is what I'm using. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chart and see what's happening. Right, it's definitely not Thursday, November the 4th, is it? So let me change that. Don't know how that got there. So 27th of November, and the radio show was 4 p.m. So let's change that to 4 p.m. 4:02, I think I actually started. So let's do 4:02 p.m. and I'm setting it for Newcastle as the place because that's where I am. So it makes sense to use it. I want GMT on here. Somewhere there's GMT. 0 GMT, that's the one. So 4 p.m. was Sagittarius rising, which makes it Jupiter dominated. So the show was about addiction and trauma, which is excess, which is overreaction, all those, that's a Jupiter type of thing. It's expansion, it's an indication of oversensitivity. Anything that's over would be a Jupiter theme. Excess. So the whole show, by the looks of it, was under the rulership of Jupiter, sign of Sagittarius. So I played a 35-minute clip from a movie called The Wisdom of Trauma, which is about Gabor Mate. Well, it's about trauma, but using Gabor Mate and his experience in Vancouver and a series of interviews just to anchor everything. So it's an hour and a half. I played 35 minutes of it, which I thought was probably enough. I got the feeling about 35 minutes for some reason. I hadn't watched the whole thing. I watched about the first 5 minutes of it, but 35 minutes took me to a place in the movie where we finished on a piece of poetry, a piece of rhyme or rap, or poetry is more accurate. And it was a very moving piece, so that was an obvious place to stop, and it was 35 minutes and 4 seconds into the video. So my 35 minutes intuition was completely accurate, and it was exactly on point. So that's the chart. The rest of the chart is there's no real squares in there, so it's all kind of inconjunct. It's all kind of relatively good angles. As a Mars Pluto in there. I've got the midheaven in Libra. So there's a certain amount of balance in what Gabor Mate says about trauma. It's there because it's necessary at the time, and it's teaching you something about the situation that you've avoided by creating the trauma. And what he has to say is interesting. I recommend the movie. It's on BitChute. I might download it and upload it onto this channel actually, because it is a good movie. Make it easier for people to find if it's on here. So yeah, I would have expected Scorpio to be dominant. Scorpio isn't dominant, but the Pluto Mars aspect is significant in terms of deep buried trauma. And what we've got where's the moon? We've got the moon in Virgo. Which would be about thinking about small things, thinking about health, and that type of thing, sixth house type of things, which is small animals, small things, health. Yeah, and on this chart, the ascendant is, as I said, is Sagittarius, and the descendant is Gemini. So it's the axis that's just had a lot of. We've got an eclipse coming up on that axis in 4 days' time, 5 days' time, whenever the new moon is, the 4th of December, I think it is, something like that. So on that axis is significant at the moment. So I can understand why the emphasis would be on something that's an excess. Jupiter as trauma, I wouldn't necessarily have put together, but it kind of makes sense from a psychological point of view. If it's an overreaction, it's an inability to let go, and it's taking things personally. So it's inflated ego, that will be Jupiter, an inflated sense of self that becomes wounded. So the wounding Chiron isn't on here, but wounding would potentially be Mars. So trauma will be physical trauma will be signified by Mars, psychological trauma by Jupiter, I suppose. I'm working this out as I go along, as you can tell, but nonetheless, it's useful for me to do some rehearsal or to do some catching up. It's a long time since I spoke in astrological terms. This is very psychological, so I need to reacquaint myself with psychological astrology and mundane astrology in a fairly major way. So I've got a feeling next year is going to be the year I turn into an astrologer again. Particularly now that I've got the live stream working, I can actually do that. All right, that's probably enough for now. So let's stop the share and finish the broadcast. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again. The next one will be longer and a bit more rehearsed, but I'm getting there slowly but surely.